Mega Man, powered up!
Hola amigos, what is up? This is FFIX, and welcome to something a little bit different. I think this is the first time I've had to actually use the PSP for a Let's Play. But here we are, with one of my favorite video games of all time, Mega Man Powered Up. Start up a new game here, and let's do this. So I'm gonna play as Mega Man, but specifically, I'm gonna play as Mega Man S. Because I like the ability to slide. But I don't want to use the charge shot because that kind of breaks the game in two. Maybe if I do another run on hard mode, maybe, but...
peacefully in the labs of the foremost authority in robotics, Dr. Light. But then, one day...
So for those of you guys who don't know, Mega Man Powered Up is basically a remake of the original Mega Man that came out on the NES in 1987, so this was kind of like a almost 20th anniversary game of sorts. This was 2006 compared to 87. And this was supposed to be the start of like a new Mega Man series for like the PSP and stuff. Like, Capcom was planning to make like Mega Man... there were two Mega Man games on the PSP, like Mega Man Powered Up and Mega Man Maverick Hunter X, and both of them were supposed to be the start of something new for the Mega Man franchise from Capcom. But the games didn't sell well enough to warrant Capcom making sequels to either of them, which is a real shame considering Powered Up is actually real good. And I would have loved to see like a sequel on like the Vita, or maybe even if Capcom wants to do it on the Switch, that would be pretty rad. But regardless, let's actually get into the game, enough like dawdling around. So this game is pretty typical Mega Man formula as far as like the gameplay is concerned. You run around, you jump, you shoot, and notably there are 3 different difficulty options as well. We're gonna be playing on normal because that's just kind of the middle road there. Easy difficulty, well, makes the game considerably easier as you'd probably expect. And hard difficulty makes it so that bosses have like different patterns, enemies are a little bit more aggressive. Hard mode makes things interesting, but I'd rather just stick with normal mode here.
Professor, please,
Change me into a fighting robot.
Mega? What are you saying, my child?
Also, they call Mega, or like Mega Man, just Mega all the time, and like... I'm going to assume it was just some kind of translation error, because his name is usually Rock, and I think even some of the more recent Mega Man games, they just call him Rock whenever he's not Mega Man.
Roll, could you please assist me?
Rock works better as a name, in my opinion. Boom!
I've adapted your
We're a fighting robot now.
Your opponent's abilities.
We've even got an arm cannon and everything.
You will be free to use them.
Well, Professor, here I go.
Listen, Mega. No, rather, Mega Man. Yes, that's it. From this moment on, you shall be Mega Man.
Let's go!
Alright, let's actually start the gameplay now. So now we've got our arm cannon, and the reason why I picked Mega Man S is because Mega Man S is capable of sliding. Now there's actually a ton of different playable characters in this game, including a few versions of Mega Man himself. So the default Mega Man you play as is like Mega Man 1 rules. You don't have the slide, you don't have a charge shot or anything like that. Basically you just jump and shoot, it's simple. I honestly like Mega Man S in this game, because it's the Mega Man 3 variety, so he's got the ability to slide, but he doesn't have the ability to do charge shots. And I'd say that I want to play as Mega Man C, which is the charge shot variation, but that kind of breaks the game in two if you're not playing on the hard difficulty, and again, like I said, I don't want to do that for this run, I just kind of want to play it on normal. It's also been quite a while since I've played this game. I played like a bit of it to show off the stage creator on a stream once, and... Then, like, after that, it's just like, oh, yeah, I showed off the stage creator, I showed off why I like this game. Time to not play this game again. Actually getting hit on Proto Eye, that's not a good sign already. It's the whole Let's Play thing, I tell you. You get distracted by talking about things, but you gotta talk about things, because that's just how Let's Play goes. Speaking of how Let's Play goes, this is kind of something I'm doing more for myself than anything else. Because I figured this is a game I enjoy. This is a game that like I enjoyed as a kid, I still enjoy it now, I like the whole aesthetic of it and stuff. But I really need to get back into the groove of doing Let's Play, so it's just like, yeah, I'll continue Final Fantasy IX, but first I need something to really kind of get me back into doing the vidya. Figure, why not this game? Let's pick Cutman here for our first stage.
I'll finish this.
Everything's adorable in this game. English voice acting isn't like that good, but everything's adorable in this game. I love it. So now that we're actually in one of the stages, we can get into some old school Mega Man gameplay. But with a few twists. There are some twists, there are some turns. The layouts aren't exactly one-to-one, and part of that's due to the PSP screen, because like the PSP has a very wide screen, but in order to have like the graphics quality, stages are very like wide horizontally, but the screens aren't very tall vertically. So a lot of stages have to be adjusted for things like that, and there's also actually hidden little side paths in a lot of stages too. Most of them are for construction packs, and I already have those because I was a dumb dork that cheated. Because as a kid, it's just like, oh, actually do all 100 challenges to unlock Proto Man? Well, that's dumb. I just want to play as Proto Man right now, so I'm just gonna download a PSP save, which you can do that. You can download saves on the PSP, which is actually pretty cool and like a pretty cool time save for a lot of things. I probably wouldn't do that with any like really big game or anything like that. Like Final Fantasy IV, I have that on the PSP as well, and I know that game well enough to not warrant that. And I'm definitely not gonna do that with like Fate Extra, which I actually would not be averse to doing a Let's Play of at some point, but I have to beat that game first. And I made things a little bit more difficult on myself for beating it, because I picked Caster. And somebody's saying, but if it's your first time going through, like, Caster is a really bad choice, because she's, like, weak to everything. And just like, I know, but she's fluffy. That's the important thing. The floof is important. I'm a mofo. I like to go down the ladder. So yeah, there's actually a lot of different breakable blocks in this game as well. One for each different... almost one for each different kind of weapon. The only exception is the Thunder Beam, actually. There are no blocks that can only be destroyed with the Thunder Beam, but the Thunder Beam is capable of moving certain blocks. Also, while things are a little bit easier than they were in the original Mega Man, some of the enemies are a little bit tougher, like the Big Eyes. They actually block shots when they're not moving. Here we go. Here's my boy.
Brother? I can't believe it! Dr. Wily was right. You've changed into a bad robot.
Cutman, what's going on?
You're an evil fighting robot now. I'm gonna stop you, Mr. Mega Man, and make you good again.
Cutting it up.
He's my boy, Cutman. Cutman is one of my favorite Robot Masters. There's something I like about his design and just like nice and simple. Right, so I guess a thing to note about the bosses is, A, bosses get Mercy Invincibility after every hit, which is very annoying. Especially when you've got something like Mega Man or Mega Man S that only have the normal shots. Bosses also have desperation attacks that they'll do when their health is low. I remember... the only boss that doesn't is Time Man, and he's one of the new ones in this game. I remember actually, Bomb Man gets a little bit obsessive with how he does his, desperation move too. He uses his, like, a lot. We get our weapon demonstration here. The weapons in Mega Man Powered Up are also a bit of a mixed bag as well.
Nice job. Keep up the good work.
Keep up the good work. Alright, now if I didn't have a game save on this, it would also be good to note as well that I would have actually unlocked Cutman as a playable character right then and there from defeating him using only the Buster. Any of the 8 Robot Masters you defeat using just the normal Buster shots will become an ally for you, and you can play as them in a kind of what-if story. Unfortunately, however, I already have everyone unlocked. Again, like, thanks to the game save from 10 plus years ago. Good job, me. So I don't have to worry about that. I can show, like, who the other characters are, so we've got, like, Mega Man and his 4 varieties, so you can even play as just Rock himself. Got the Robot Masters. They're all pretty cool, they use different weapons. Roll is a playable character. I believe she was actually like a semi-DLC character. You had to download her from Capcom's site. And Proto Man, you unlock by clearing all 100 challenges in challenge mode. So there actually is a pretty decent variety of playable characters in this game. That's neither here nor there. And since it's a different game from Mega Man 1, the weapons have been changed around as well. So Bomb Man is actually our next target.
Time for a big bang!
Ready? Let's go!
Alright, so to cover weapons in this game, like I said, they're kind of a mixed bag. Some of the weapons are good, but for the most part, I don't like using the weapons in this game. And it's not because, like, they're particularly terrible or anything like that. It's more because a lot of the weapons in this game have very limited ammo counts. Especially in comparison to, like... I guess the comparison would be to the original Mega Man, where most of the weapons had 28 shots, except for, I believe it was Hyper Bomb had only 14 shots. Here, however, the most any weapon has as far as ammo is 14. As far as the minimum, though, there are weapons that have as little as 2 shots to them. So that can be a little bit of a pain right there. Because I can also talk a little bit about the difficulty changes as well. So playing this on normal mode, I said before that this is basically like the bog standard gameplay difficulty. On hard mode, certain things change, like these spines, for instance. They're actually always fast on hard mode. And certain enemies have like different behavior patterns and stuff that change depending on which difficulty mode you're on. Like the bullet bills, for instance. Not these guys. If you're playing on easy mode, they don't explode at all. So like you can just shoot them at point blank and everything's fine. Normal difficulty, obviously things explode, so you've got to be careful about that. And in hard difficulty, when they get to a certain point, they actually aim toward you as well, which can make them very difficult to dodge. Some of the enemies just get faster when they're on the higher difficulties too, like these octo batteries. There's another thing to talk about too is you get the energy balancer right from the get-go in this game as well, which is kind of a godsend. Jump over the Snipper Joe. Right, that's not switch weapons in this one, that was jump. So I guess another thing is, I usually have, at least when I'm playing the Mega Man X games, my weapon switches mapped to triangle and circle, or wherever those buttons would be on like a Super Nintendo controller or whatnot. So 2 of the face buttons. Because usually I have L to dash, but since this is a classic game with no dash, I've got to take that in mind.
Warning!
Regardless though, here's Bomb Man.
Don't run off. Let's have a little fun with my explosives.
Bomb Man, that's really dangerous. Stop setting off bombs.
Stop setting off
Should've come the day
bombs.
before yesterday. I had some big boom booms then. Don't cry now.
Dialogue in this game is a treasure. Also, these platforms just look like teeth. Welcome to Teeth Man. So I guess another thing to talk about too is that we're gonna see more of Bomb Man's bomb shenanigans. Another thing to note with how weapon weaknesses work in this game is that every boss is killed in 5 hits of their weakness. So weapon weaknesses are very potent in this game. So you saw that the rolling cutter was shaving like big chunks of life off of Bomb Man's health there. But unfortunately, a combination of rust and lack of ammunition did not do as much favor. Hyper Bomb is actually interesting in the fact that it's actually decent in this game.
Nice job. Keep up the good
Keep
work.
up the good work. The Hyper Bomb is actually a decent weapon in this game because it explodes on hit now. You don't have to wait for the timer or anything. So there actually is a
Stop and freeze!
use for it. It's not just something that you like throw out once to try to kill an enemy and never use it again because it's bad. Another note is that a kind of weird thing in this game, a lot of enemies have collision detection in this game where they wouldn't have it in the original NES game. Oh, right. And also, some enemies that aren't in the original Mega Man also appear in this game too. But some enemies actually have collision detection with walls and whatnot that they wouldn't have in the NES game, where they just kind of go through the walls, rather. Your shots also will not go through walls, so be careful about that. Now, thankfully, powerful weapons like the Hyper Bomb or Mega Man S charge or Mega Man C charge shot will also allow for players to break off shields of certain enemies. There we go. So spikes there. A little bit of an inconvenience. So these penguin guys are actually funny because if they actually hit a wall, they won't go through it. Rather, they actually will continue bonking into the wall until the game just decides to destroy them. It's kind of funny. Also note this big fire magma generator here in a fire block. We could break this if we had the firestorm, and we can freeze this if we had Ice Slasher, which obviously we get from this stage. There's also just a lot of, like, really cute animations as well. Like, look at him. He's struggling. Struggling to move around because it's icy. Also, as a bit of an interesting note, Iceman stage finally has ice physics. Oh man, the low ceilings in this game are really starting to bother me now though. There we go, it's all a matter of timing. I guess to note this as well, if we were playing as a certain someone else, we might be able to melt the snow and go to another area. So there actually are little hidden passageways as well, based on the different characters. So it's not just like the different weapons you use. Certain characters might also have certain paths that they can go through as well. So for instance, maybe Fireman would be able to unlock a path that another character wouldn't, or Cutman would be able to do something like that. It depends on the character, it depends on the stage, it depends on if I can get onto this footholder. I could. It's great. Sometimes the timing is a little bit off on those guys. So here's a block that we could actually move with the Thunder Beam if we had it. You notice the little plate there, that actually determines which direction it would move. It's neither here nor there. Let's throw our hyper bombs, now that they're actually good. I love having a good hyper bomb, not gonna lie. It's a real good thing that makes Mega Man 1 painful to go back to.
Warning!
It's like you get so accustomed to how a weapon works in one game that it might change in another one.
Oh, freeze it at all costs, soldier. I don't believe it. Iceman, even a loyal robot like you.
Well, sir, Soldier, finish your mission. Stop it.
So Iceman has multiple personalities for some reason. Iceman is actually a lot easier to beat in this game compared to the original Mega Man though. And it's partly because he just doesn't do as much absurd damage output. Also because you can just pattern lock him like that. Soldier down! So we don't have to worry too much about unlocking the Robot Masters. And here's our third weapon. You get Ice Slasher! Honestly, Ice Slasher is okay in this game, but it ain't great.